We said that the absorption costing technique tends to allocate overheads to different activities to ensure that the overheads are shared amongst the activities that occur in the production line. But there are those fixed, we agreed there are those fixed overheads that will not change irrespective. For example, the cost of electricity. If that machine operates for 10 hours, we don't expect that cost to change, it will remain. So what we will have is either an over or an under absorption. And we normally say when there is an over absorption, we normally deduct before taking our figures to the profit and loss account. And where we have under absorption, it means that we have a plus. So what it means is that you are supposed to, all the absorption technique, we normally say it is accompanied by a lot of errors, and therefore the manager is supposed to be very cautious. Remember, we work with a budget. Any organization, any progressive organization will have a budget. And a budget will have the actual or the expected level of activity. But because there are deficits here and there, could be we are going to experience an abnormal level of activity. And that is what we result into either an overabsorption or an underabsorption. So the level of activity in the business or the particular cost center is the one that dictates whether we are going to have either an over or an under absorption. But basically, the fixed cost will remain. So what will be varying are the overheads. And that's why we call absorption costing full costing, because it takes into account both the fixed and the variable overheads. Again, the level of expenditure on the production overhead will really matter, because we expect, for example, we have the salaries. Salaries in the production line, let's say the salary of the factory manager will not change. But because of, let's say, additional activities, the factory line manager might be asked to work for overtime. So overtime will increase the overheads. You get. At times the machine will break down, and instead of retaining employees at the workplace, you just tell them to take unpaid leave. That will result in an under absorption. Therefore, the level of expenditure on the production overhead really dictates what amount of overheads we are going to either absorb over or under absorb. Then the activity level, I've said that will be dependent on the target. But ideally, from our past formula, we said that the overhead application cost that will be used is normally based on the total fixed production cost. And then we divide by the budget or the machine hours or the expected activity or the normal activity. I have a case there. Been told in the table below, the variable overheads absorbed per machine hour is 3 shillings, irrespective of the activity level. The fixed overhead cost per machine hour depends on the activity level used as the base. If 100 machine hours are used, 5 shillings per machine hour must be charged in order to absorb the fixed overhead cost of 500. If 300 machine hours are used, then 1.67 per machine hour is sufficient charge in order to absorb the total cost of overhead. I've shared the example in your portal. I want you to open it. It's a label in your portal. And this is a figure that you are being told. I'm waiting people to open the example in the year portal. I'll close mine and open an Excel sheet. Confirm when you have opened. I'll share my Excel sheet. I'm waiting for you to open the question on your end. I've shared it in the portal as a label. So if you open the portal, you'll just see the question. Should reflect immediately you open the portal. Confirm once you've done that. Are we there?
Yes. Yes.
So we've been told that if 100 machine hours are used, we are charging. There's a lot of background noise. What is that? Esther, you decided to entertain us on a cold morning. So we've been told that if 100 machine hours are used, then five shillings per machine hour must be charged. So that is our fixed. That's our fixed cost. And if 300 machine hours are used, then 1.67 per machine hour is sufficient charge. I don't know whether I'm able to carry this table. I'm also having a problem in shifting from the question to the Are you able to see my screen? Are you seeing my screen on your end?
Yeah. Yes.
So we are told when we produce 100, we are going to do it at an average cost of 5 shillings. If we do 300, we are going to do it at a cost of 1.67, right? And then the concern or what we've been asked to do is, we've been asked to, we've been told using the data from the figure 5.0, assume that the production overhead absorption rate was calculated where an activity of 200 machine hours was estimated, and then prepare a summary showing any over or under absorption of overhead cost by the actual machine hours charged to the jobs are either 150 or 250. So in our solution, we know that the absorption rate is, what's the absorption rate? What is the absorption rate? For 200. We've been asked about the 200, isn't it? The first one is 200. 200 or 150. We've been asked to check 150. And we've also been asked to check the 150 and 250. 150 and 250. That's what we've been asked. So you can just have the, let us analyze the equation. And we do it on this side. We know that full absorption costing is full costing. So we are taking our fixed cost, fixed cost. And I add the variable cost. To get my total. So this will be my total cost. Total cost. So we start. So we want to know what cost was. We are starting with 150, isn't it? We've been asked to assume to take the actual activity as 150 machine hours, isn't it? Guys, you are the people who are on the question. Is that what you've been asked? So we look at the overhead incurred. Going forward, I'll be using OH for overhead. So we use the overhead incurred. We look at the overhead incurred for the fixed of 150. Our fixed cost is 500 shillings. I'm going to indicate 500. Then the variable is 450. That will give me a total cost of 950, right?
Yes.
Now we need to know the variable cost that were absorbed. Variable cost absorbed. So we see absorbed. The variable costs that were absorbed. Fixed cost are fixed cost. So we've been told is 150. And we are doing it at a cost of, this is the overhead per hour. So we are charging at 3 shillings. So this will be 150 multiplied by 3. What do you get? 150 multiplied by 3?
450.
I'm going to get 450. So that is the variable cost that was absorbed. Then we look at the fixed. We have the fixed overhead that was absorbed, right? So fixed overhead. Just
200.
Fixed overhead absorbed. What's the fixed overhead absorbed? Fixed overhead. What is our cost?
It's 500.
500.
No, cost per unit. What's the cost per unit?
1,500.
Cost per unit.
3 times 500.
3
Three.
times 500. Well, tell me, what is the total cost? What is our total cost? Because from the total cost, you can be able to get the, not that one. I'm asking the total unit cost.
6.33.
6.33. So you can see my screen now, isn't it? We've been told in the table below, the variable overhead absorbed per machine is 3 shillings constant, irrespective of the activity level. So that one we know, isn't it? So this one we know. So we go on. Then the fixed overhead cost per machine hour depends on the activity level used as the base. Now, base is what I'm looking for. Base is what I'm looking for. I will not be given the base in this case. But we normally, when we ask of the base, we normally look at the average. Being an accounting student, you look at the average. So our average is 5.5, isn't it? That's what is lying in the middle, more or less in the middle. So can we use our base as 5.5? Sorry, that is what I had not given. So what is 5.5 minus 3? 5.5 minus 3?
2.5.
2.5. So we are going to get our fixed overhead by multiplying the machine hours with the average fixed overhead cost, which is 2.5. What are you going to get? 150 multiplied by 2.5?
375.
375. So you're getting 375, right? We are getting 375. So can we get the total overhead that was absorbed?
Yes.
The total overhead that was absorbed. Total overhead will be now the fixed overhead plus the variable overhead, isn't it? So what will be our total overhead? So this will be also subtracted.
500.
So our total overhead. Our total overhead is, the cost is 5.5 now, 3 plus 2.5. So it will be 5.5, you multiply by the 150. What are you getting? What are you getting?
825.
825.
Yes.
Again, we deduct this from the fixed cost to get the over or the under absorption. We need to know whether it was over or under absorbed. What are we getting as the fixed cost? 125, right? 125. Here we are getting 0. So our variable overheads are fully absorbed. And here we should get the 125. So you're getting 125. So is it an over or an under absorption? Is it an over or under absorption? I said if you get a positive answer, it is an under absorption. And if you get a negative answer, no, if you get a positive answer, it is an under absorption. If you get a negative answer, it is an over absorption, right? So this will be an under absorption. Under absorption. We'll compare this with the marginal costing and see which is the better method of absorbing cost. Of course, absorption costing is considering both the fixed and the variable. But when you go to the marginal costing, we say the marginal costing is the cost of producing that one extra unit, which will give us the incremental cost. So you'll be able to evaluate which is the best mechanism to evaluate cost. Can we do for 250? 250. So this one you've gotten an absorption of 125. We do for 250. We follow the same procedure. So our fixed cost is still 500. That is not changing for 250, right? What is the variable cost? 750. So that is giving us 1250, right? Then the variable cost that are absorbed, the 750. 750. Again, we'll subtract. What are the fixed overheads that are absorbed? Fixed overheads that are absorbed will be now 250 multiplied by 2.5. What do you get?
625.
625.
Yes.
Where are you? Are you attending a class with background music? You people, I don't understand you. How are you even able to concentrate? If I'm struggling to concentrate and I'm in a quiet environment, and I know these things, you are learning. How do you concentrate when you have the music at the background?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Are we multiplying by 2 or 2.5?
Yes.
Are we multiplying by 2 or 2.5?
2.5.
Okay.
Why? Why are you asking?
I saw the 2.5 corresponds with 200.
2.5 corresponds with the 200. What did we say about the 5.5? Unless you didn't understand that part. What did you say about the 5.5? We assumed our absorption rate to be 5.5, isn't it? Which is average. Tuko sawa. That's why we are using 2.5. We are drawing our argument from 5.5. Sawa.
Okay.
So we go on. So the total overhead will be 5.5 multiplied by 250. What do you get? 5.5 multiplied by
1375.
1375. Now, Esther,
Yes.
I'm addressing you. How are you able to attend my class with background music? Esther?
Mwalimu, yes, niko na mtoto sasa, lazima nimweke cartoon ndo ni attend class.
Anyway, it's okay. Now we go on. So what are you getting?
Lazima, it's not a must, lakini yeah.
So we go on, we are getting 825.
Yes.
So
1375.
1375. 1375. I want now to negate. This one will give me minus 125. I'm now getting an overabsorption, isn't it? Yeah, I'm getting a negative. right?
Yeah.
So my answer is negative. Is this negative? Let me see. It's negative 125 also.
Yes.
I start now getting this. I don't know why I'm getting this. Anyway. See, this is the problem of the Excel. It has the inbuilt formula, but this is an oversubscription. So I just needed to illustrate the case that if you get a positive answer, kindly note that the expenditure level is of an under absorption nature. But if you get a negative figure, it means that it is an over absorption. In other words, we are saying you had budgeted, for example, in this case, you had budgeted for 500. You incurred 675. Or rather, your fixed cost plus the variable cost you had budgeted for a total of 1250. But you ended up using 1375, which means you have an overhead of 125 that you had not budgeted for, and therefore you need to absorb. Is that okay? Is it clear? Is it clearer when I explain it that way? We normally do absorption costing based on a budget. And because a budget is a rough estimate, budgets are not standard cost.